Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond, Virginia. My name is Denise Rhymes and I have the honor of serving as president of the board of directors of this historic congregation. Thank you for bringing yourself to be with us this morning. Whether you're a longtime member, a new member, a friend, someone who's been away for a while, or a first or second time visitor, we welcome you, whoever you are. We've been gathering since long before the Civil War, welcoming the stranger, daring to ask bold questions, and trying to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. While we haven't always succeeded, we've never given up, and we continue to do our social justice work with building beloved community. We hope you find something here that inspires you and calls you to join us again in the future. I encourage you to tune in about 5 to 10 minutes prior to each service for weekly updates about what's going on in the church. Two items that I'd like to bring to your attention. Our regularly scheduled board meeting will be held next Tuesday evening at 6:30. Check out First News Weekly and you will find the Zoom information so that if you're interested in joining us, we would love to have you. Second, keep an eye out in First News Weekly for a couple of upcoming town halls that are being scheduled to bring you up to date on the capital campaign and some really interesting and vital information that we've learned about the need for repairs to the roof of this building. Many of you know that's been a long time concern, and we are getting closer to a solution. Again, I welcome all of you and glad you could be with us on this Sunday.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Jeanne Pupke, and I want to welcome all of you this morning to the Great Hall. It's a familiar spot for many of you, but some of you don't know it, never stepped foot in it. So welcome. Welcome to our Great Hall. It's the spot where services and concerts and large dinners and conferences and plays happen all the time throughout the church here, except lately. But they will again, so welcome. And to begin our service, as always, we light a chalice. The chalice is a symbol of our commitment to justice and religious liberty. And good old Reverend David Hicks McPherson would want me to remind you that it was the chosen symbol also of a Catholic freedom movement to have the service be in the vernacular and to be on the same level as the people. The priest Jan Hus embraced that, and it is so in this great hall. It is true up front we have a slightly different level, but we're often on the same level. And we're looking into one another's eyes. And when we're able to be here, it's a great thing. But instead, let's be here virtually. Welcome to a time of worship. Will you join me in a time of reflection, contemplation, prayer, as your heart needs? Spirit of oneness, who brings together people, who honors the ancient nature in our very body, for hunter-gathering bands to come together, to do work together, to be together, to connect emotionally. This is our nature, and we are dwelling in these bodies. Teach us to honor the connections we have with all beings, with human beings in Afghanistan and Haiti. Allow us to learn to respect all beings, every animal, including every farm animal, including every raised animal, that their lives be honored as well. Teach us also to come together one with the earth, as we have learned how hard it will be to undo all we have done to harm her. May we take into our lives the real call to do those things necessary, even at sacrifice, to ourselves and to others, so that our privilege does not become encased in the event of undoing this world. Help us to understand oneness across religions, races, nationalities, genders. Help us to welcome the people who have been pushed to the furthest edge, and to include them in our understanding of we. Spirit of oneness, saturate the places where we have become like stone. May it dissolve and come together in new and necessary ways to make of ourselves a people who can change and grow and do what is needed for the good of all people. Free us from the identities and attachments we have formed, from the property we defend, from the isolation we command for ourselves in the name of safety. Help us to let go of the myth that we are at war with the world, and to come round right to the fact that everyone ought to be assumed to be our friend. In this way, we will grow. In this way, our community will grow. And so it is outward to the entire world until we do no harm, until all is well. Amen. Ashe, Amin. Blessed be.
Our Share the Plate for the summer months of July and August is Side by Side. Side by Side is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting LGBTQ+ youth and young adults and their families, caregivers, schools, and more. It's a place dedicated to creating supportive communities where these LGBTQ+ youth can define themselves, belong, and flourish. In the words of a side-by-side youth, through Side by Side, I've found friends I can count on, adults I can trust with everything about my identity, and the ability to stand up not for just myself, but for queer youth overall. Today's offering will now be taken and gratefully received.
There is a generation gap, a misunderstanding of sorts going on in our faith. Yes, you may not know it, but it's true. A couple of years ago, we had a big hoo-ha over the question of whether or not a minister is free to say anything they want, anytime they want to say it. Well, there've been a lot of people fired for saying anything they want, anytime they wanted to say it in ministry. But there have also been people who've been enshrined in congregations that idolize them, and everything they say is absolutely brilliant, even when they don't know what's going on in the faith. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what's required in terms of avoiding generation wars and internecine arguments and all the cancel culture that's going on today, as well as the self-righteous, set in stone ideas of the past. Are they reconcilable? Not too long ago, I found myself in a conversation with a knowing UU, and we lit upon the fact that it's been our experience that it's hard to be heard in some rooms in Unitarian Universalism. Our age is assumed to disqualify us a bit from knowing anything at all. Well, it's easy to get discouraged when that happens to you. I know a number of people who feel that way, and in fact, there's a significant number of the population over 55 who feel unheard, canceled, if you will, unwanted, unseen. It's part of the main problem with opioid addictions and elder suicides, and the shrinking life expectancy in this country, although COVID gave it a great boost. How can we, as a church that spans many generations, we are everywhere from 0 to 101. So those 5 or so generations, those 4 or 5 generations present in this congregation, must have some work coming together, yes? We have groups that seem to attract people of the same age, and they all want to do things together. And then we have intentional groups like the young adult group, specifically to gather people of a certain perspective and experience together to enjoy one another's company. when we have a dance right here in the Great Hall. There's a mix, usually. We do everything from Rihanna to big bands to Motown, because we know we're all from different places and different times. And besides, those are some good places to draw our music from, right? But today, there's also a way in which it's so frustrating to be a young person and to hear boomers or elders to boomers say about how things are, and you can't take them apart and you don't want to tear down everything. I can understand the frustration. There is a lot that gets fixed in the mind and identity of people, even supposedly liberal people, that is not amenable to change when change is needed. And if you're a younger person looking at that, you deserve to be a bit outraged. Critiques of what we did or didn't do. I mean, after all, Earth Day's been around a long time. The truth is, we did some things and not enough. That's a whole story we could sit down and talk about. And likewise, for elders, it's hard to find ourselves and our values disregarded entirely without any conversation, or to assume that we remain in place because we just can't figure out what else to do with our lives, or that we don't lead with a style of leadership that might be the right kind for now. All good critiques. I know I feel like I lead a group very differently now than I would have even 15 years ago. That's what is wonderful about having this multi-generational church. But it also means that we have to explore the issues with the earth, with equality and justice, with the question of women's rights, with our impact upon other nations, and ask ourselves, really, can we afford not to change? Or can we afford to be absolute in how we're going to go about things instead of adaptive? Conversations between generations. Well, we know from the Thanksgiving table that can be hard. But what I want to preach particularly about is having a sense of humility and a desire to be engaged with other people of different ages. I want to talk about how important it is to have young people in your life if you're an elder, and elder people in your life if you're younger, and to grow up with the mix of perspectives. And yes, older folks, we don't need you to tell that story for the 10th time. No, we've heard it, we know it. Yes, younger people, you have new revelations and energy in response to them. And sometimes we think inside we know everything about it, but we're missing some key things. But when you put everyone across the generations together and you have deep conversation on what people are longing for, looking for, hoping for, you start to have really meaningful conversation on what is needed. I'll just speak about 2 issues to give us just a taste of this. Most young people are rather impatient with the too little that has been done to heal the earth. The global report we received 2 weeks ago tells us that things are worse than we even thought. 7 years have passed and things are getting worse. Now, in response to this, it could be a first world or privileged nation response to say, stop everything, simplify everything, Eliminate all combustion engines and fossil fuels. Stop everything. But the truth of the matter is that there are some national economies which are just on the threshold of growth, just getting to the point where everyone has electricity and water, where education is possible for all the children, just. And they need and deserve the opportunity to have the things in some small measure that we have in abundance here. So it is true that our nation must lead. And yet, even we, as we taper down the growth in our electrical use, which is great, it's not fast enough. And so the news that half of all future cars will be electric is good news, a good plan. But even that's not soon enough. So the critique becomes one of everything is not good enough. I understand the urgency. I get it. Healing Mother Earth is truly our responsibility, but we have spent 200 years fouling her air, her sea, and her land. And we must go about it intelligently. So boomers, hold on to your hats. We need nuclear energy. Yeah, a lot of us boomers spent our time fighting nuclear energy when we were younger. Yeah. At the time, the mindset that was in charge was all about profit and control, and recklessness prevailed. It was either that recklessness prevailed in how they were operated, with 3 Mile Island being my prime case. I was way too close to 3 Mile Island. Or ridiculous cost overruns. For example, the Shoreham plant that was to be built in Long Island. If my brother hears me now, he's probably going to have a hard time with this. But I don't see how we can meet the needs of emerging nations and our own needs and curtail our consumption of combustion without it. Even if we gear up solar, even if we gear up wind, even if we redo the ridiculously ancient power grid in this nation, which is wholly inadequate, we're still going to need, for some foreseeable time, to invest in a better kind of nuclear energy that will allow us to stop harming Earth. Then we have to, of course, begin to repair Earth. But we've got to do the big things right now that make changes. Significant things, not the things at the edges, radical changes. Now, could we have that conversation across the generations? And here's another one that I think we need to have. Maybe some of the risk folks will think about this in your house meetings to come in the next month. Why don't we have affordable housing? We actually have enough land and enough space to have affordable housing in the greater Richmond area. The problem is it's all zoned not to allow it to be so. Oh no, say the property owners, you can't change my zoning. I invested in this property and I want maximal value from it. Friends, the accident of owning property and seeing the value rise because of tight zoning laws, because of a lack of thoughtful planning for how housing would come into being, and a lack of willingness to put up with your neighbor having an auxiliary dwelling unit in their backyard, garage, basement. Come on, folks, we can do better. I was in Portland when they allowed auxiliary dwelling units to happen. They needed to. They had a zoning structure that said, we're going to have everything in the city grow inside these boundaries, and outside of it, you have to buy 5 acres and you have to run your own utilities to live there. We're going to concentrate people. But they quickly ran out of housing. But they had all manner of garages, basements, attics, and they passed some of the country's first laws to allow these units. Oh, what a screaming fest went on. People just worked from their reptile brains at every meeting. But what happened was, yes, people converted garages. Yes, people converted basements. Yes, they even converted attics, redoing them, air conditioning them. And friends, what they actually found was that it fostered tremendous building of community. People of all generations came to live on the same 1/8 of an acre or 1/4 of an acre or 1/2 an acre plot. And they started to barbecue together on Fridays and run errands for each other. It actually allowed elders to stay in their homes a little longer. And when it came time to sell them, they had people right there who wanted to buy them. That was a great move, and it increased housing in Portland for a while. And now Portland's back to the same place, a lack of affordable housing. Because the zoning laws and construction laws and the fees make it very onerous to build. Surely we can solve that with some really great engineering, especially pre-engineered houses. I think that should be how we build in the future. It means that we have to move away from a mindset that prioritizes property values over people. And younger people are asking for us to do that. Shouldn't we be having a conversation about this as well? So how are we going to live together? Where's the space going to come from? How are we going to provide power in this world without harming Mother Nature? Yes, I know we have to figure out how to handle spent fuel. Friends, these are things we have to come together across generations to work on in collaboration. Separated by parties, that hasn't worked. Separated by parties and generations? No, please. We need to work together to make of this world a place where human life is valued, where all beings are respected, and where people who are living in poverty now can move from poverty to stability. Enough food, enough electricity, and not needing all the smoke in the air. Friends, as a community, let us come together across generations. Let's talk. Let's find ways to discuss the major differences in the way we perceive things and draw from them the wisdom that we have and come together to make real solutions that endure. May it be so.
As we come around to take our places at the table, a moment to remember and reflect upon our wealth.
Here's to loving friends and family. Here's to being able to gather here together in good company and health.
May we be released from all those feelings that would harm us. May we have the will to give them up and get them gone.
For heavy are the satchels full of anger and false promise. May we have the strength to put them down.
And may the light of love be shining deep within your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you every day. And may we wish the best for everyone that we encounter. May we swallow pride and may we do away with fear.
For it's only what we do not know that we have grown afraid of, and only what we do not choose to hear.
And may the light of love be shining deep within your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you every day. And as we bless our daily bread and drink our day's libation, may we be reminded of the lost and wayward soul,
The hungry and the homeless that we have in every nation. May we fill each empty cup and bowl.
May nothing ever come between or threaten to divide us. May we never take for granted all the gifts that we receive, being ever mindful of the unseen hands that guide us and the miracles that cause us to believe. And may the light of love be shining deep within your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you. May the light of love be with you. May the light of love be with you every day.
We're at the end of our service now. We extinguish our chalice. And I hope that for all of us, nothing is extinguished. That leads to hope and community and to working across generations. Find somebody not in your generation and have a great conversation.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark night. And if you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark night. Hear the song of deep within you. song of peace in your heart. Spring's new beginning lead to harvest. Love will guide us on our way, on our way. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark night. Love will guide us through the dark night.